Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Nonprofit Cafe. Thanks for being here this morning. I'm going to keep an eye on the waiting room and see who else joins us this morning on a snowy morning in Bozeman. While you get settled, would you mind introducing yourself in the chat? We're going to go name, organization, and something you're looking forward to this weekend. I'm Chloe Leffel-Holtz. I'm the nonprofit programming manager with One Valley Community Foundation. And my youngest sibling is coming into town this weekend from Missoula. So I honestly might say, let's spend some quality sibling time together. You're going to get in the car with me and we're going to go put up Give Big posters around town. So a little voluntold action. Ooh,
What will
Naomi,
the siblings are
tickets to the
for?
symphony. Fun, fun, fun. Ooh, some reading, watching kids play soccer.
Hi, Suzanne.
Julie resting after a big week. Cheers to that. I saw Bridger Care's reel where you were doing some amazing like cartwheels and jumps. So also rest your body from that too.
I have a desire to do cartwheels often. So I think a cartwheel is always good for the soul.
Well, thanks for introducing yourselves and sharing what you're looking forward to. I hope this weekend, covers everything. An 80s cover band at the filling station. Yes to that, Amy. So fun. Well, I am grateful to be spending this morning with all of you. Welcome to Nonprofit Cafe. Thanks for being here and setting aside some time for learning on a Friday morning. I'm also really thankful for Bethany Green, who's here with us to explore turning business sponsors into partners. Every year, we usually in June survey all of our nonprofit partners and ask, what do you want to learn about? Every year, without fail, fundraising is the number one topic. And this year, under the fundraising umbrella of all the different things that folks want to learn about in development and fundraising, business sponsors and partners rose to the top. And so I'm really excited for personally as well for this next hour and a half to dig into this topic. Really quick to introduce Nonprofit Cafe and One Valley Community Foundation. We are your hosts of this nonprofit professional development opportunity. Again, I'm Chloe with One Valley, and our mission is to connect people who care to causes that matter to ensure that all can thrive in Gallatin County. We do this in a few different ways. First, we support nonprofits like yours by offering free and low-cost trainings and professional development opportunities. We amplify donor impact by helping individuals, families, and businesses establish charitable funds and connect their values to tangible needs in the community. We multiply grassroots philanthropy through initiatives like Give Big Gallatin Valley coming up next week. I saw some notes about resting before Give Big in the chat this weekend. And then finally, we bring people together to address our region's most pressing challenges. Today, our focus is on convening the Regional Housing Coalition that's actually having their Q2 meeting in West Yellowstone this morning. So, a lot of good stuff happening across the county. Another big thank you to our nonprofit cafe sponsors, Yellowstone Club Community Foundation and First Security Bank, who make this gathering possible. A couple of housekeeping items before I turn it over to Bethany. Since we're gathering virtually, please keep yourself muted unless you're actively speaking. If you are able and willing, encourage you to have your camera on. It's more fun to chat with faces this morning. We will have a few breakout groups throughout this session. If you are in a situation where you can't join in a breakout group, that's totally fine. You can stay in the main Zoom room with Bethany and I. And we'll be emailing the slides out after this session. This session will also be recorded, and Bethany is generously allowing us to post it on the One Valley YouTube page. So you can also watch it back afterwards if there's a part you wanted to dig into a little bit more. If you have any questions throughout the session, or if there's anything I can do to make this session more accessible to you, you can chat with me directly through the chat box. All right, all that fluff out of the way, into the heart of why we're here today. Bethany Green is Gallatin Valley Land Trust's Conservator Circle Program Manager. Bethany joined GVLT in the fall of 2023 and has more than a decade of fundraising experience in Gallatin Valley. I am so grateful to Bethany for being with us today and is really the perfect person to dig into this kind of like number one requested topic with us. Bethany, you bring so much expertise and heart to this work, and I know we're all excited to learn from you. A virtual round of applause for Bethany Green.
Thank you, Chloe. I am so excited to be here. This has always been my favorite topic to talk about as long as I've been in fundraising, and to learn from. So I have attended, seriously, I think almost a dozen different trainings, whether it's been through one profit cafe or nonprofit cafe, online, national ones, regional ones through industries that I've worked in. And I've just collected a lot of things along the years that work well for us, and that I've seen work well everywhere else. And so I'm really excited to dive into this with you. As Chloe said, my name is Bethany. I work at GVLT on the fundraising team. I have a really long, complicated title. You crushed it, Chloe. Thank you. I was hired as a development program manager back in 23 and then moved into a new role recently where I'm doing more individual and major gifts fundraising, but business partnerships is near and dear to my heart, and I'm thrilled that I get to keep working with them, and share what I've learned. So, all right, let's dive in. As Chloe said, please engage as much as you want to and are able to. There'll be a few different times where Chloe's going to help me by throwing up some polls. She mentioned the breakout rooms, and any questions that you have. I'm going to talk a little bit in a minute about kind of just like the vibes of the next 90 minutes, but as engaged as you're willing to be, helps us all have a better experience. Okay, so first up, my favorite friend Clippy from the 90s, Microsoft Word. Chloe, I'd love you to have the first poll up for this. I just want to see what everybody is interested in getting out of this. So like not like what made you register for this event, what made you list business partnerships as a top topic that you want to learn from, and really boiling down to like what will make this session a win for you. So we can kind of help keep that in mind. And like I said before, like I'm so excited about this topic because this presentation is something that when I first started doing business partnerships, would have been really beneficial for me instead of learning a lot of things the hard way. So I'm hopeful that whatever you pick, whatever these four things up here, and I'm just gonna look at these as they're coming in, would make it a win for you. I love that this feels pretty balanced. There's not like this one top topic that everybody wants from this, but looking at concrete next step I can take this week or next week, new ways to think about business relationships, ideas I can bring back to my team, or maybe reassurance that I'm on the right track. You know, this is something that you're already working on, you already have a great system behind, and you just want to know that you're doing it the right way. Maybe find a few different ways to tweak it. Awesome. Thanks, Chloe, for popping that up. All right, next. Okay, setting the vibes of this conversation. Confidentiality, I always put that on there, even though this is being recorded and shared, so keep that in mind as you share. But I think it's really important that whether it's in these conversations or any follow-ups that anybody has with each other, that we just keep in mind that maybe we're being vulnerable and sharing challenges that we have, and just kind of keeping that close to our heart. Story of one, as I said, I'm going to share things that I've learned that work for GBLT, and that is certainly not an end-all be-all of what will work for everybody in every type of organization. And then lastly, I love questions. Please pop them up in the chat. I've got that window open. And then Chloe, if I happen to miss any good questions, if you would just interrupt me, cut me off. Great. Okay, so starting my hopes and dreams for you and your organization, leaving this presentation. is that I am really hopeful that you walk away with some concrete ideas. I think it's really fun and easy to feel inspired. We actually spent an all staff, all day retreat yesterday talking about our strategic plan, and I always leave that feeling really inspired. But I don't always leave those conversations with those concrete next steps and those, okay, here's 2 or 3 quick and easy, maybe not easy, but quick and simple things that I can get done that I think will really help me move the needle. I think in fundraising in the nonprofit world, we are all wearing so many hats that sometimes it's easy to get lost in the weeds. And if we can take this opportunity to step back and choose some of those really organization driving moves to make as a group. Okay, I want to start by sharing what GDLT's development team looks like. I always think this is really helpful to kind of keep in context as when I'm learning from different organizations, I want to know if they're doing this with a staff of 20 or if they're doing it with one person nonprofit. And so that always just helps me kind of frame what I think is doable with my organization. Back in November, we added to our development team. So we now have 3 people that work full-time in fundraising. Nobody is dedicated to business partnerships. That's a part of kind of all of our roles. I work on overseeing the program, but there's still plenty of other hats that I wear. So we have our director of development, who's Justin Barth. He's done a few trainings here. He's brilliant to learn from if you ever get a chance to. He sort of leads the strategy behind our work and works largely with our planned giving and a couple of our special projects. I've moved into a role where I oversee our Conservative Circle program, which is our major gift donors at 1,000 and above, and our business partnerships. And then Ellie, who was hired in November, does a lot of our events, supports with business partnerships, grants, etc. So we're all wearing a lot of hats, but there are 3 of us dedicated to development. And I recognize that that is maybe not as many as some have, but certainly more than a lot of organizations do have. So just wanted to kind of keep that in mind. Okay, next up, I would love to start and just kind of see where we're at, what we are all thinking and the assumptions that we have around business and corporate giving. So what sort of things come to mind when you either think about your organization, and this is where I want you to drop things in the chat if you can, when it comes to your organization or just corporate giving and business partnerships in general. Wait a second for some responses. No assumptions. Nobody has any assumptions on business corporate giving. Oh, thank you, Amy. Sometimes feels transactional. I think it often can feel transactional. Can feel like you maybe have never even met the person that is mailing in a check or wants their logo on their thing. Businesses already have their giving allocated in advance. I think there is some truth to that for sure, but that's a really good assumption to bring into here. Oh my gosh, you guys are great. Your organization's mission needs to align with leadership values. Okay, great. So making sure that there's some sort of pairing and things make sense in the organization. Dependent on a pre-existing personal relationship. Ooh, I like that. I've given this presentation a couple times and I don't think I've heard that one, but that's a really great note. Hard to predict repeat funding. Yep. Aligning with your mission, support similar organizations, and need to have something to offer. Transactional. I like the transactional piece, and I'm just gonna spend a second here on this one. Before I was fundraising the Gallatin Valley Land Trust, I was a fundraiser for athletic departments, most recently with the Bobcats and with a few before that. And fundraising for athletic departments does very often feel transactional. People are making a gift to get access, to get tickets, to get gear. It does often feel transactional, and it takes a lot of effort to kind of move some of those into bigger picture relationship driven. But yeah, okay, great. I love all of these assumptions. If you guys think of anything else, drop them in. But the reason I like doing this is I want us all to acknowledge that these are here and that we have these assumptions, and perhaps for the next little bit of time, try and set those assumptions aside and challenge them together and see if we can have a new mindset. Okay, let's start with boiling down what is fundraising. I'm going to read this quote because I love it. One human being asking another human being for help with something that they both agree is important. And I just love this for a number of reasons, largely because I don't picture myself or like identify as like a natural extrovert and fundraiser. Like just these things don't always come super naturally to me. And so when I get anxious about an ask or picking up the phone or I'm getting a little drained from a lot of donor meetings, like if I can boil it down like this, I think it's really helpful. You're not selling something. You're inviting them to the table. You're inviting them in to be part of your partnership to really help your mission advance. I think it's also really helpful to think about it that donors or businesses aren't giving to GVLT or to your org. Like they are giving to the work that you do, and you're a conduit to help them with their goals. And I think if you can kind of frame it in that way, that if you've gotten the meeting or if you've gotten the phone call, there's at least some interest there in the work that you're doing. So kind of keeping that in mind that at the end of the day, that's the whole job, is we're just humans working with other humans to do work that we think is important. I also want to talk about the language of working with businesses, so sponsorships versus partnerships. And this was something that I kind of led with in my description of the event and in the title, but I think it's one of the simplest and most powerful shifts you can make is just to start looking at your businesses as partners, not just sponsors. And so I break out the difference here in that a sponsorship is usually event focused, it's short term, where a partnership is exactly what it sounds like. It's that long term, it's that mission driven, mission aligned work. I also do want to point out real quick that everybody in your business portfolio or your business prospect list might not be a fit for a partnership. They are not interested in having meetings and doing anything beyond, sending in a check once a year. They're really only in it for the marketing benefits. And it might not be a perfect fit for the partnership, and that's a-okay. But we will work through the rest of this presentation on identifying those that you really can move into that partnership bucket. So I try and make sure, even if I'm talking about sponsors, that I just kind of have drilled into me and my staff that we talk about business partners and everything that we're doing. And I think it makes a big difference because people like to be brought into what you're doing. And it changes your approach too. Okay, so next up, looking at the why for businesses. So just like individual donors, every business is going to fall into a couple different categories as to why they're supporting you. Some people are just doing it for the marketing dollars or for the transaction, as we've seen in the chat. But a lot of them are doing it to increase and deepen their employee engagement in the community and with your work. They're doing it because their business aligns well with your work as a nonprofit. And so trying to understand what is their motivation can really help you deepen your stewardship with them and deepen that partnership and that relationship. And your job isn't to try and like put them in any of these places, but to just understand it and meet them where they're at. And if you're able to come up with a couple different buckets of where these people fit, you can have this like personalized mass which I know is an oxymoron, but like a personalized mass outreach to these different organizations when you can at least know, okay, these are just the marketing people. These are the people that aren't interested in volunteering but do care about our work. And these are the people that I think can deepen their relationship. And we'll get into that. So I wanted to share a testimonial. This is from one of our new business partners that came to us last year. I'm going to take a minute and read this. Our employees love being a part of GVLT's work, whether it's volunteering on a trail day or seeing the results of projects that we've helped fund. We look for partnerships that connect our team to the community in a tangible way. And I think this is just beautiful because I think it does challenge some of the assumptions that we have that it's always transactional or that it's always considered a marketing spend. And they didn't say in this quote, like, we give to GVLT for the visibility. They're talking about that community. They're talking about the outcome of doing the work and wanting to connect. And so they stop thinking of themselves in this moment as a sponsor or a donor, and they really truly are thinking of themselves as a part of what we're building. And I think leaning into that as much as you can, you'll find success. Okay, so next up, shifting the strategy, as we've talked about this a little bit. Put yourself in their shoes to fundraise. So what do they need and want versus what you need and want? And I think it's easy as fundraisers to say, okay, these are the two things that are top of mind right now, and these are where we need the money. So I'm just going to go try and make this fit wherever we can. And well, there certainly is a time and place for that approach. When you have the opportunity to kind of step back and think about these different things that they're looking for, I think that really helps you have more success in deepening those relationships and establishing and learning what they're after. I think having these conversations with donors and business partners as you can, and taking these first ones as just information gathering and learning what about your mission connects to the work for them. Like if you are an organization who has multiple prongs or multiple programs, GVLT is a great example. We have lands work and we have trails work, and most of our partners are pretty much in one of those two categories. They have a stronger interest in conservation or a stronger interest in community building through being on trails. And as you can kind of learn a little bit more, either through one-on-one conversations or just research you do through other organizations that they're funding, through different events that you see them sponsoring, like trying to gauge what would help them, I think goes a really long way. I also want to talk about, this is kind of in the same breath of putting yourself in their shoes, that timing is everything. And somebody mentioned this, I think the first one, saying that most businesses, their spending is already allocated at the beginning of the year. And while that certainly is true for some, I'm sure, like just understanding the seasonality of the work that they do can help you time that approach, right? And so it's not always you're asking them in January because that's the beginning of the year and that's when they have a budget. One thing that I've learned over the last year or so is that I think a lot of nonprofits, myself included, used to be in that assumption where at the beginning of the year that pot was already all divvied up. But I have found out there's often at the end of their fiscal year or at the end of the calendar year, a lot of money left in that pot that people aren't asking for at that point because they just assume that spending has happened. So we had a great partner like a year and a half ago. We took her out to coffee and asked her for to fund one of our events. She loved it and she was like, put it in your calendar right now too, please, to ask in December, just for like an extra support because we always have extra money at that point. And it's almost tough to give it away, which is just wild to think about. So if you can, as you're building these relationships, start to know and understand both like the timing of when they make their donations, the seasonality of their work again. So if they are an industry that is crazy busy in the winter, and have slower time in the summer, like you're obviously going to have more success if you can plan a little bit ahead and try and get that meeting before their busy season happens. Watch their industry news too, like try and keep a pulse on like your major donors and what that's looking like. If there's been news out there that this industry is not doing well economically or that they're doing layoffs, things like that, you can come off really obtuse and just not intentional in asking. So trying your best to keep abreast of different things that are going on. And yeah, learning when their major asks happen, learning when their fiscal years are so that you can kind of put these things in your calendar. So asking the question, where do I start with this? As I said, like at the very beginning, I'm going to give you as many things as possible that I have learned in these next 90 minutes. And even having like two full-time dedicated people could not do all of this all the time. And so I want to make sure that I reiterate that hopefully you're getting a few nuggets, but that I'm not advocating like a complete transformation of your program, or even saying that we do all of this all the time, just sharing what's worked. Justin, our development director, he has this phrase, which is from an old Shania Twain song, dance with the one that brought you. And I think that's such a good starting point. If you have business partners already, or event sponsors or people that are just sending in money through a business, like that's a really great place to start. And I think there's a temptation, especially if you're feeling the pressure to grow this program, is to go wide right away. And to build this big prospect list and to start cold emailing everybody. And we'll talk in a little bit about some strategies to identify new business partners when you're there. But I'm saying that if you have, 5 hours a week to spend on business partners or whatever that is, that at the beginning of kind of a shift in mindset here, that 5 hours is best spent stewarding and trying to grow your current business partners. And honestly, like as you grow your relationships with these business partners, you could see referrals from these organizations. You could see other events that they partner with and kind of seeing that that's your best source of new relationships in Bozeman anyways. Like you should go talk to DVLT. We had a blast at their event, or we got to go help build a trail as part of a volunteer day. Just really kind of building that in. So let's see here. I'm trying to remember when I'm doing my first breakout room so I don't miss it. But in the breadth of having, starting with the ones that gotcha, these are like the 3 categories that I like to put my business partners in. And this is something that I recommend taking time to do as you're evaluating your business partners. And so I've got them in 3 groups. So kind of what's likely your biggest group, your base of your pyramid here, is your steady sponsors. So these are people that maybe you've tried to get a meeting with before and they're just not interested. They're the ones sending in the check. They're always going to sponsor your gala. They might attend, but like you are certainly at this point not thinking that there might be an opportunity to grow that relationship. The next bucket is the maybe mores. And so figuring out what that looks like. And this is truly, I think, where the opportunity is right now, is looking into this. So these are the businesses that are showing you signals. Maybe their teams are participating in your community volunteer days. One thing that I started doing is downloading our report when we send out an email on an upcoming event, and I'll look at who is opening and clicking, and I'll organize by their at gblt.org or whatever it is, and flag if there are 6 different people who work at this organization who have opened and clicked this email and they're not a partner, they're going to shoot to the top of my prospect list. Or if they're what I think or I did think was just a steady sponsor and they weren't interested in this, but they're clicking this, you can see that they're forwarding your email. Use that data that you've got to really illustrate that there is opportunity there for a deeper connection. And then number 1, these potential power partners. So these are your shoot for the moons and building these relationships. And hopefully you can see a natural evolution from 3 to 2 to 1, where you can kind of move your partners as capacity allows on both your end and their end. And this is where, if the right one clicked, it could be transformational for your organization. And that could mean anything from a very generous cash gift to in kind, to perhaps they have a building that happens to be exactly where you were trying to move your organization to. These are truly transformational. And I would say that GBLT has one of those, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Okay, so now that you've categorized, let's steward. Care and feeding is everything. I went to this presentation, I think it was a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, at the Park County Community Foundation, and it was specifically on grant funders, but I took it for all of my fundraising approaches here, and it's the phrase of do your care and feeding, right? And so you don't want the situation of your business partner's only hearing from you when you're asking for money. It's like calling your dad only when you need money versus building that relationship and making him feel good in the meantime. And just keeping that in mind, what are these ways that you can steward? And the word stewardship, I think, gets thrown around a lot, but what does it really mean? How are you making someone feel like this relationship matters to you and your organization? How are you showing up for them in between asks? And like I said, if the only time a business hears from you is when you want something, that's not a relationship. You're just making withdrawals without any deposits too. And so kind of keeping that in mind, do your care and feeding of your organization, because that account will run dry fast if you're taking it that way. Okay, so continuing on the stewardship, nailing the basics. These 3 things I think are non-negotiable when it comes to any type of fundraising, but especially business partnerships. Saying thank you. That receipt that's generated through your website is not a thank you. That is a transactional receipt and should not be the only thing that your donor or your business partner hears from you. So promptly, not a form letter, a thank you note, a thank you call that shows that you know who they are and what their gift made possible. Report on their impact. So don't make them wonder, don't leave them wondering if their money made anything happen, what sort of impact that it had. Show them, a photo, a number, a story. And this does not have to happen in that 48-hour window. We sent an email, I think it was 165 days after Give Big last year. And our subject line was 165 days later, what your Give Big donation made possible. We see Give Big, the data behind our donors for Give Big is that is our single biggest fundraiser of the year to get new donors to GBLT. So people who have never donated before, and you do that immediate thank you, and then whatever timeline later you send that email letting them know what that gift made possible. Kind of keeps you top of mind, and again goes back to that stewardship point of that's a time you're reaching out, that's not an ask. And then keep meticulous notes, not a glamorous one by any means, but I would argue that this is probably the most important one, especially when there's turnover on your staff, or if there's multiple of you that are building these relationships. Whether you're keeping notes in Excel, I'm going to show you this really quick. We do have a CRM, we use Blackbaud Razor's Edge, but we also use just old school Excel to kind of look at particularly what our engagement plan is. We do call it our care and feeding plan for the year. How are we engaging and building this relationship with this organization throughout the year? And I think that's really helpful. write down what they care about, like whatever you learned from like what their dog's name is, what they told you in the parking lot after the event. Like try and keep these little tidbits. If you guys have ever watched The Office, I think of Michael Scott's Rolodex and his crazy little notes he's always got in there. But I think it's helpful. And again, it shows that you listen. And particularly if you don't have the best memory like myself, the more notes you can take, the better, I think. Okay, and then I just wanted to show an example of an impact report as well too. I think I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but if you're not already using Canva, Canva is free for nonprofits at the pro level. So you can sign up for a pro subscription with Canva for free. And I love doing design and like I've been trained on Photoshop, but Canva is just so simple and easy and you can make these templates. I also have like a little pro tip that Etsy also sells super cheap Canva templates that you can update for like, you can find some for 99 cents or like $3 or like a whole suite of things. And I think that goes a really long way with making something look really clean and easy to update. That being said, like if you have no desire to do that or no time, like just sharing one of these photos attached to an email to your partners, I think would go a long way as well too. But we do a summer trails challenge each year where we put together a donation pot from local business partners. So we had more than 50 people last year, 50 businesses contribute anywhere from 500 to 5,000 plus and build this pot of 100,000. That was only unlocked with every mile that our community members logged on our trails. And so it's a month-long thing. We get everybody in. I think are just locking up our final partners now for this June event. And then in the week following, the event wrapping up, we send out this impact report. And so showing them like what collective impact they have, I think that's also really huge too, like illustrating to these partners that might not have more than $500 to support an event that they were a part of this $100,000 gift and what that actually meant. So for us, like building a new boardwalk to protect some wild or some wetlands on a trail costs us what? I don't even know, $185 a foot. So that's how many new feet of boardwalk that we built on a trail, or this is how many new trail miles that we could build with this support. This is how many times someone could walk across Montana back and forth on these different things. So I think it's really great. I see someone shouted out that One Valley made Canva templates for Give Big, which is amazing. So love that. I can't speak highly enough of using Canva. It's so quick and fun and easy. Okay, now I'm going to run through this really quick. And we've got like 2 more slides and then we're going to go into our first breakout room. I like showing and having a conversation about these like low cost extra credit stewardship opportunities, just as like some sort of creative ways to thank your donors. The one on the right is like my all-time favorite thing we've ever done. We had a business partner give their largest gift yet. And it's a woman-owned business, and they gave in honor of their 2 childhood dogs who had recently passed. And I thought that was just beautiful. And so I took an ink pad. This is only like part of the note, but we have a dog-friendly office and 1 million dogs in here. And I went around every dog and I had them sign or boop with their nose on this card and had their owner sign it. And I hand delivered it, and they were both just brought to tears at just the connection and the understanding of why they were giving. And I think that those little things can go a really long way if you can challenge yourself a little bit to be like, how can I be creative here? Celebrate their wins. If you follow them fairly closely or see something come across on social where your contact got promoted or they are expanding or anything like that, take 30 seconds to shoot them a quick email and say, hey, I saw this and I think this is great. LinkedIn's also a really good place to celebrate your partners. We have a partner with a solar installation company, and they wrote a great article on, just the impact of solar on the environment. And we shared that on our LinkedIn and celebrated our partners and got a note that they just loved that they loved that we wanted to be publicly associated. So I think whenever you can think about how to celebrate them, and then send them business too, whether it's your employees, you're recommending each other to go here, or donors asking whatever questions, whenever you have an opportunity to kind of spread that love and send people back. I think that's great. Okay, this last slide, and then we're going to jump into our first breakout room. So in this breakout room, we're going to talk about stewardship and help each other brainstorm some creative ways to steward our current partners. I wanted to highlight one more. Evergoods is a backpack company here in Bozeman. They actually, most of their business is done and sold overseas. They have this like cult following in Asia. But when they first started 10 years ago, they committed to giving 1% of their total revenue, not just profits, to GBLT. And that first year, that check was like $3,000 or $4,000, which was amazing. But that has moved into recently a six-figure check that we get in December. And at any given point, they could have said, "Whoa, like we can't do this 1% anymore." And even like a year and a half ago, they had some ownership changeover, and someone who was there, or who was one of the founders left, and he was the one that we had the strongest relationship with. And so we were a little anxious about that. But because we had put in the work, duplicating some relationships and making sure that they felt included in our work and that we had other people that we knew and loved in that organization, we were able to like kind of stay top of mind for them and stay in that 1%. Whenever you have an ownership changeover, that's always a little scary when you do have a transformational partner like this one. But we just love them, and we try and think about creative ways to steward them because they are definitely not in the camp of like put our name everywhere. We're doing this for the marketing benefits. Like they do it because they want to protect the place that like they run their business in and that their employees live in. And we started last year. I hate the phrase first annual, but it was our first one. This year will be our second annual business partners happy hour. And this is a super low lift way to get your partners together and to celebrate them and engage with your program staff who's actually doing the work. So it's not just the development person that they're always hearing from. We had Evergoods be our presenting sponsor of it, even though it wasn't like an extra cost. It was just like an added benefit for them. We had like 30 people show up. We just hosted it at our office. I had asked Evergoods to say a few words on why they support GBLT and what their approach is to philanthropy. And it was just wonderful because it was a room full of people, half of whom we hadn't met yet, that were just sending in checks. Crazy what a free beer and some snacks will bring out in people. They'll come out and say yes to that. But it was just really great because Kevin with Evergoods, he spoke to that group and talked about how important philanthropy and nonprofit work is in Gallatin Valley. And he encouraged everyone in the room to go deeper with their impact, whether it was with GBLT or another nonprofit. And I think that that's a trend I'm seeing in business partnerships and in individual donors as people are choosing not to spread out as much, but a few places to make a real impact. And I thought that was just a really great approach and an easy stewardship opportunity. Okay, Chloe, so this is where I want to do our first breakout room. So we'll spend a few minutes together. What I would love you to do, quick introductions and explore and brainstorm some ways that you can steward your current business partners. So if there's somebody that is very generous and you're like, I can't come up with anything creative, can you guys help me? Sometimes it's just really great to pick the brains of people that aren't in the same silo you are all day, every day. So when we come back together, we'd love a few people to share out if you feel like it, but just a good opportunity to meet a few new people and share some ideas. Thanks, Chloe.
Great. I'm going to send folks into breakout rooms. We'll have about 3 to 4. Again, if you are in a situation where you can't join the breakout room, don't join. Stay with Bethany and I in the main room, and we'll call folks back in Bethany about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think 5 to 6 minutes is great.
Great. We'll keep an eye on the time. All right. Happy chatting.
We
Welcome
all back
back,
together.
everybody.
Yay. Thanks, Chloe. Hopefully you had some wonderful conversations. I'd love to take a few moments and share out whether it was an idea you had or celebrating someone else in your group that helped you come up with something. And take a couple minutes. We've got a small enough group that I think you can just unmute yourself and start talking. If you've got something to share, please do. Going first is scary, but remember, we're all just humans asking other humans to share what we care about.
I'll share.
Thank you.
My name's Kim V2. I'm the development coordinator at Morningstar Learning Center, the nonprofit childcare here in Big Sky. And one suggestion that I had, or just a share that we started doing last year, was having like a party. Well, we had an ice cream social to kind of like celebrate partnerships that we have in the community and like our donors. So it gave us like a really good avenue to like invite some of our bigger donors to the school because like people in Moonlight or Spanish Peaks, they're not like actually going to Morningstar every day to drop off their kids. So they're like, here's like money for childcare. But like it was really cool to like invite them to the school and like celebrate them and just kind of give them like show them what their impact has made for us and our school. So that was kind of a cool, intimate way to say thank you and just like build a relationship and just really like show them how impactful their money is for us.
I love that. And I love what you said. That's an intimate way to show what they are doing. Did you like walk them through the school? Like what did like the programming look like for the ice cream social?
Sure. So we got Janet from Scoops to set up in the front. It was in the summertime, so we had like the ice cream station. It was kind of like in the parking lot. Everybody was kind of hanging outside. Kids were on the playground. And then we were like kind of giving tours in the center just to show like, we have our new curriculum. This is what it like has done and just kind of like giving them an inside look of like this is really impactful of what they're giving us money for. And yeah.
I think that's so cool. Have you ever had the kids write a thank you note or draw like a thank you picture? I feel like that could be
Yeah, we've like had a lot of thank you cards. Like we sometimes write our own thank you cards and then we have kids saying thank you and like
yeah.
kids artwork. We did like a big thank you card to all donors in the beginning of the school year and had like a photo on like I made it in Canva. um that had like a picture of kids artwork like on there too. Um,
Cool.
so yeah.
I love that. Thanks for sharing, Kim.
Yeah.
I'm Naomi from 406 Circ. Wait, this is an idea that I haven't actualized, but maybe will, is we talk about having like a circus appreciation night. And we mostly have like clients who hire us more than sponsors or partners. And I feel those feel like the people who would in some ways be the best people to be our partners, but am nervous about making those asks, but of having sort of an appreciation night of saying, hey, come, like the people, often they're people who are supporting programs for kids, but saying, hey, come try it out. Like, hey, One Valley team, come to a trapeze class, and having it be sort of an invitation to try the programs.
I love that. I think that's so fun. And I don't think there's too many other people in the valley that could invite partners to a trapeze class. So I love that you're like leaning into that. I think that's so neat. Circus Appreciation Night. That's so cool. Thank you for sharing.
I had some feedback from a business partner sponsor where we kind of shared that the often it's like hard if just staff is showing up to say a business event or sorry, one of our events or something like that. And that might not be related to what I'm about to say. Sorry, I'm off track. So they asked that the like higher ups make decisions depending on what's important to their staff. And it's a very large organization with lots of staff and locations. And so they suggested I need to figure out how to do this without spending a bunch of money. Coming in for a lunch that maybe someone's donated pizza for or something like that, where multiple staff can like come through, get free pizza, have a chance to visit with our program staff about what we do, one that could recruit potential bigs and or let them know that it's a great opportunity for them to enroll their children and share about to the staff what the impact of the giving of their organization does for us. And then that makes the people who do make the decisions more inclined to continue and to be excited about it if their staff is super invested in it. So the challenge there is, not spending a whole bunch of money on a bunch of food and trying to figure out a unique way to do that to connect with the staff because, right, if people are really driven by what matters to their employees, then that's going to determine how they give as well.
It does, and it fluctuates too, right? As employees leave or retire or new ones come in, kind of trying to figure that out. Did anybody else kind of talk about something similar? Maybe a budget-friendly way to engage sponsors or employees of a business? Well, if you have ideas, share them with Amy at Big Brothers Big Sisters. One thing that like came to mind for me when I talk about like the business partners happy hour that we did, knowing like it actually was pretty low cost to us. We are one of those cool nonprofits that has a keg on site, so we just opened up our keg and had people come over and do snacks. But it was also, I don't know, kind of a lift to plan something in person. So if there's ever an opportunity to do like a Zoom luncheon or like a lunch and learn, like if you can go over there to their business and like say, can I take 20 minutes of lunchtime and present to them? I think those are a couple different ways too. That would be interesting, but I'd love to hear creative ideas on that if you guys have them. Okay, any last share outs before I move on? Thank you,
Sure.
everybody. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Hey, I'm Haley. I work at the Habitat for Humanity of Gallatin Valley. Um, and one like little tiny thing that we are doing that I just think is like fun in a creative way. We have a 2x4 that we're having our donor sign that's actually going to be built into one of the houses that we're building this year.
Cool.
So they'll be like a part of the build. Um, so I just thought like anything that is small like that can always be beneficial, just as like a little, oh, I'm in that.
I love that. And I think that also goes a long way too with getting the employees from the top down engaged. Like, Amy, I've gotten similar feedback. Met with a potential partner a couple weeks ago, and like the most important thing to them was that their employees felt pride in our work and that they could like walk on, an example for us, like walk on a trail and point to it and be like, we did that, we funded that, or we showed up with shovels and helped build that corner. And, getting to point to a house, like my signature is on that 2x4 in there. Like I think that goes a long way for what businesses are trying to do with their employees. Like they're trying to do, something similar, like engage them in the work that you do and the causes that you support, and trying to find that alignment. And it's funny because we talk about a lot about like volunteer opportunities. But like volunteer opportunities are a lot of work, honestly, and not always for like a lot of physical return. And Haley, I bet you know this as well too. Like it's a lot of work to get a volunteer opportunity organized, to get them trained, to get them, and there's varying degrees of this depending on what your organization does, but that's not always like this super easy thing to do. So I love that. I wrote that down. I want to see if there's a way that we can kind of incorporate that in something we're doing. Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to keep moving. Thanks to everybody for sharing. Okay. Lastly, just to kind of close, like our current partners thing is just a reminder to look at, that deepening versus chasing, like growing somebody from 500 to 5,000, like it's going to go so much further than getting, 10 new cold emails out that you may get one response on. And just a question to kind of leave you with as you go back to your categorization of these sponsors, when you're looking at that maybe more, like what are we missing? Like what would make those maybe more partners feel more seen and more engaged with your work? I find it easier to pick one or two partners to look at when I'm looking at like how to move my program in a different direction, because I think an example of one or two works better than like this nebulous, like how could I do this for everybody? So just an encouragement to kind of keep that way. This next slide is kind of just a reminder of different things that business support can look like, really beyond just a cash sponsorship or donation. So we've talked about volunteering. We haven't talked about marketing support actually, but that's one too. If you've got a business partner that has a much larger newsletter subscription rate or social media, and they're excited about your partnership, like lean on them to help you promote an upcoming event or an upcoming campaign. If they're truly this partner at that level, like they want to do that. So try and get creative on ways that they can help you get in front of new people. Third-party fundraisers, so pint nights, things like that. I have never found a lot of financial success in doing a pint night. Like that's not something that brings in a lot of money, but it's really good for awareness if you're like trying to move into either promoting an event or promoting the general idea of your organization. Using like a pint night or a percentage of sales at a restaurant goes a long way. Matching employee gifts, a lot of organizations will let their employees make a payroll deduction or a donation and they'll match that. So that's another thing that we'll see come in. And that's a flag for me when I see like a construction company check come in that there was a $200 matching donation that their staff gave. I think this goes back to Amy's point of like, okay, it's clear that those employees of this organization, at least some of them, are engaged in our mission. So that to me is raising a green flag of excitement that might be somebody, if they're not currently a partner, that I can engage with. And that starts with that thank you for doing that matching gift. And maybe that grows into something more beautiful. The marketing support too, this bottom picture, this is my lovely husband having to hang up these signs for me. But like First West Security Bank, we had asked them for a cash sponsorship for an event. They politely declined, but said we have this display window on Main Street that they essentially like give out to nonprofits. Like that window, if you've walked by it, is like always celebrating or featuring. It's like a little room too, so you could do like a full setup in there if you wanted to. But it's nice because it's like right on Main Street. We are building a bike park, and this was like peak campaign fundraising, and we were able to put up these pictures for people to see as they walked by. So lots of different ways businesses can engage with you beyond cash, and those are often a really easy introduction to a relationship as well. Like it's not just asking for cash at the beginning. It's bringing them in as a partner from the very beginning. Okay, so talking about identifying new business partners, kind of shifting here. So when you're feeling really good about everybody you've got, or if you are starting from scratch, this is kind of where it makes sense, in my opinion, to start spending your time. So look at like, who do you and your organization give business to? Like, where are your employees regularly going to for lunch? Or like, if you're in the outdoor industry, where are they regularly shopping? Like, where is this mission connection maybe already kind of existing? Who is volunteering regularly or employs your volunteers? I like this as well too. So maybe it's not organized through the organization, but if you have the opportunity to get to know some of your volunteers and it's a group of coworkers from X, like that might be an organization that would be open to deepening their support. Who's engaging with you on social media? Who are you finding commenting and liking your posts? Like, a lot of data-driven decisions and flags that can point you in these different directions on this. Who works with your current partner? So I talked about this a little bit earlier too, but like referrals, what other organizations are they working with? Who might have that mission or that project alignment? So like with Big Brothers Big Sisters, for example, like maybe Once Upon a Child, which is that second-hand clothing store in town, is like somebody that comes to mind that might have a similar alignment with customers or feel strongly about your mission. And then, as I mentioned earlier, who's matching your employee donations? So even if those are coming in small nominal amounts, like you're on their radar already. So might as well reach out, thank them, and see if there's something big you can do. And then to reiterate too, the emails, like who's opening and clicking your emails, like sorting through them and seeing if you're seeing a few people that work at organizations that you haven't had a relationship with yet. One thing that I think is really important when you are trying to find a new business partner is kind of right away finding that right person. And this gets tricky because you might just get passed from like 3 different people, but trying to figure out who is that right person for you. So finding an internal champion, someone that does care about the work that you do on a deep level and can rally their fellow employees and therefore leadership to support. Ask for referrals, as we've talked about. LinkedIn is a great place as well too to figure out like who's the marketing or the operations person. And when you do find that right person, like trying to figure out how to tailor your approach based on their role. So like a marketing director, before you know anything about this person, like and you might get more tidbits of information as that relationship grows. But before you know anything, if you're meeting with marketing, come in with a marketing pitch. If you're meeting with the CEO, talking about leadership and employee engagement in addition to marketing, but trying to figure out based on the role of the person that you're meeting with or reaching out to, what kind of might be that hook that might make them think, oh, like, yeah, this is my job to do these connections, or could at least connect you to the right person. And then the first bullet point, I think this one is so important in businesses. Like there is turnover, just as there is in nonprofits, and trying to build relationships with multiple people at your bigger key partners, I think is a really smart and strategic use of your time. And then like just another little pro tip, but if you do have this great relationship with somebody and they move on, like follow them. Like they like you, they like your work. If they move to a similar organization, like get with them right away, celebrate their promotion or their new job, and try and bring them along with you. We talk a lot about like who makes the right donor, who makes the right partner. And this comes up a lot because we'll be meeting with the board of directors. We're talking about a land conservation project in Park County. And people will just start spitting out names, like John Mayer has a house out in Livingston, like surely he can donate to do this project. And sure, he probably does have like some connection to our work, but like if you don't have these three things, like capacity, affinity, and tendency, if you don't have the capacity to give, whether that's $5 or $5 million, if you don't have the affinity to our work, and if you don't have the tendency to give away your money, again, whether it's $5 million, like we call it a cool cat. If you're not a cool cat, like you're not the right fit for our organization. And this, I think, kind of helps filter things out as you get people that are suggesting businesses or donors to work with, being able to say like, my time is really limited. Here's how I am, protecting and prioritizing the new organizations that I'm going after. Just saw a chat come through really quick. Just gonna open this up. And keep an eye out for business email systems that automatically trigger email opens if you consistently see the same number of opens from the same address across multiple campaigns, likely due to an automated process rather than the repeated engagement from the recipient. Ooh, good flag. I didn't know that. So keep an eye on that. See if that's the exact same number as you open those. And that might not be an engagement flag. Thanks, Anna. Okay, moving on to crafting a proposal. So again, back on the Canva track here. But I think it's really important that you put something clean together when you are proposing either an increased sponsorship or something new with somebody. And I just kind of included like what some of ours have looked like. So you'll see it looks really similar in layout and color to like the impact report that we did earlier. So trying to make sure that those kind of stay top of mind. And depending on the event or even the partner, like we describe the event on the front and then on the back, we'll kind of list out those sponsor and marketing benefits depending on what people want. So on the right, this was for our bike park that we're building. And just kind of showing what these different levels are. Because again, even if this organization isn't, fueled or motivated exclusively by marketing impact, it is often the marketing budget that these things will come through. And so being able to show that there is a return on this and figuring out what that looks like for you. I think knowing what you're willing to offer is important. I have fallen into situations before, kind of going back to third-party fundraisers, where I don't know, I feel like our brand and our clout, I guess, but like our relationships with our people was kind of taken advantage of by an organization we worked with for a percentage of sales night, because we like never received the check which again, it's not about the money with those because you don't get very much, but like the expectation, like I feel like they were using like our name to help them build business, and it didn't feel like a great partnership. And so I think from like the very beginning, knowing like what you're willing to give away in exchange for being associated with your name, I think that's really important too, as you think about who are the right organizations to partner with. It's got to be the right fit for them, but without a doubt, it has to be the right fit for you too. And so even if it's somebody that might be coming in with a lot of money, if it's an organization that not even like doesn't directly align, but perhaps could directly oppose some of the work you're doing with, obviously that's not a good partner. So kind of keeping those things in mind. But I like having these templates where, again, I can, in under an hour, update it based on the event that I'm trying to fundraise for. Or like I have, this is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows here, but I have actually like 15 of them. And I'll always keep like the dollar amount the same, like being in our newsletter, it usually comes with sponsors at this level or above. But I'll kind of, instead of overwhelming them with all 15, as I get to know these businesses better, I will just present the things that I know are relevant to them. And also, as you get to know these businesses better, you'll know kind of just in the back of your mind or in your CRM, wherever you take notes, when the right project comes up for the right partner. So we partner with Obo's Footwear. They're in the same building we are. They are very like pro hiking, all of this, very natural mission connection. They support Summer Trails Challenge at a certain level every year. And we are working on reprinting our trail maps for the first time in 5 years. And we wanted to get a partner to cover the design and the printing of all of those. And based on other conversations I had with them over the years, like I knew this could be the right fit. And we were able to triple their support this year by giving them the right project in front of them. And I don't know if this particular project would have been of interest to like 80% of our other business partners. So as you continue to grow your program, you'll kind of know when that right project comes up to be able to bring somebody in. And then this is my favorite Michael Scott Wayne Gretzky quote. This is only 2 office references that I've made in this presentation, but like if you don't ask, you're never gonna know. So whether it's like, the best cold emails aren't actually cold at all. They're hopefully someone giving you an introduction, but you never know. If they seem like a great fit, it's willing or it's worthwhile to take those risks and throw things out there. Okay, this is like a traditional donor pyramid. So I like to show this and have conversations around this because I think it is very relevant to business partnerships as well too. So looking at that base, like your first time gifts, your on-site, like you're just building this interest in your work through newsletters, through volunteering, social media, etc. You're trying to move them through these pipelines, right? So then you're getting them up to attending a special event or making a small annual gift, like just getting in there. Moving into these major gift levels. So again, like that transformational level, really these top 2 for business partners, like kind of keeping these in mind as you continue to work with businesses on who you think could one day grow to that top of that pyramid from you. Okay, this is our last breakout. We'll keep this one to 5 minutes, but I love feeling inspired and things like this, and I write a bunch of notes, and then maybe I don't like take direct action until I come back to these notes. So I'm going to challenge everybody. I want you to put together like this really quick 30-day action plan. So name one business in your maybe more bucket. Write down one thing you'll do to deepen that relationship this year, or this month, excuse me, and then put it on your calendar right now. So we're going to do a breakout room really quick so that you guys can share with each other, perhaps identify an accountability buddy to check in on in a few weeks and discuss what that one action item to deepen that relationship might be. Chloe, are we all back?
Folks are coming, joining us again. I've got about 43 seconds before everyone comes back.
Great. I think everybody's back. Wonderful. I hope that was useful. I'm going to share mine because Chloe and I were like, we're doing this assignment right now, and then I'll ask for a few more people to share. We sent out a database email this week celebrating a conservation easement that we closed in Park County. And there are 2 business partners that we have out there that I haven't really built too much of a relationship with. And I'm just going to forward the email that came to my inbox to them each individually and just say, hey, wanted to make sure that you saw this. We're so excited to keep building our work out there. Thanks for being a part of it. Because I think that's a really easy, low-hanging carrot feeding to do. It's just to forward that on. And I put it on my calendar for Monday at 10 a.m. Chloe, what'd you do?
I set mine a little farther out. There's a an organization that has participated in Give Big as a business fundraiser for many years, and we've never actually been able to meet in person. So I was thinking after Give Big, I want to reach out, see if I can buy them a coffee, ask about their experience, and then just share more too about the initiative as a whole. And I put it on my calendar for end of May.
Love it. Thanks, Chloe. Who else wants to share?
I actually just did this. We had Bowl for Kids' Sake wrap up. Three Bowl for Kids' Sakes in the span of a month, which was a little wild. But there is one business that regularly has a team and make brings in tons of money peer-to-peer fundraising, and it's other organizations in the same field, and they aren't necessarily organizations that participate with us any other time. And so really wanted to reach out specifically to them with that organization. So I did a group email. I got permission from the team who did it and recruited other people to give, to make sure it was okay that I included them on a group email with the other people that had given to them, kind of shared the impact that they all raised together, and kind of invited them into participating next year with their own team and or sitting down and having coffee to see if their businesses might want to learn more about what we do and if it's a good fit for them.
I love that. Thanks for sharing, Amy. Anyone else?
Sure. Um, we recently had a heating and plumbing company donate. They were cleaning out their warehouse, so they donated about $15,000 worth of product to our restore, which was absolutely amazing. Um, and so and that was a new relationship. That was the first time we had contact with them. So I want to both keep up with them and then as we get closer to our house building in the summer, ask them to maybe have some other people volunteer or help, train some volunteers on, plumbing maintenance or something like that, kind of get them involved. Cody mentioned like having them help teach some of the volunteers. So I'm hoping to both reach out to them throughout the next couple months, but then have that ask kind of midsummer when our houses start.
Wonderful. Thanks, Haley. Last call. Okay, great. I hope in 30 days that you can look back and be like, or, like me, if you put it on your calendar for Monday, you can be like, that's one thing I got done. And that's great. So good job, everybody, putting it on your calendar. Lastly, I just wanted to share some kind of like final parting thoughts that I had. I'm so grateful for you all for spending time with me today. I know that it's crazy busy. We're a week away from Give Big. A lot of people's seasons are picking up right now. So kudos for joining us and setting aside some time to be strategic about the work that we're doing. I hope that you learned that you don't need anything big or fancy. You don't need this huge team. You don't need to do a lot of, spend hours and hours on complicated designs, that you really just need to know your partners, get to know them, show up for them consistently, and make it easy for them to say yes. Relationships compound over time, and putting in this work now, you might not see it right away, but will pay dividends in the coming months and years as you're working on your programs. And I am reminded often, James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, has this phrase that you don't rise to the level of your goals, that you fall to the level of your systems. And I think that's so important. It's really impactful for me because I love dreaming big and writing all these goals. But if I don't have the systems, if I don't have things on my calendar, if I'm not doing regular check-ins, like I'm not going to achieve those goals because I don't have those systems built. So take a step back, see if you can put regular reminders to do your care and feeding, if you can start having things in your mind of reaching out to these partners, and just making it as simple and easy on you as you can as you're wearing a lot of hats. So it's really all I had. Again, thank you so much, Chloe, One Valley Community Foundation, and everybody for joining today. I really enjoyed it.
Thank
And this
you,
is
Bethany.
Sorry,
Oh,
so
yeah.
sorry, Chloe. This is my email address. Meant to throw this one up. Please, I love talking about this stuff and just our community and everything in general. But if you ever have any questions, want to see the templates I use or anything like that, please do feel free to reach out. I think that we are stronger as a community when we're helping each other instead of competing.
Well said, Bethany. I want to open it up as well for some questions at the end. To kick it off, Bethany, I got a question, a direct message in the chat with somebody curious about engaging vendors, like vendors that they're working with as business partners or funders. Is that something GVLT does? Do you have any tips or tricks around that?
Yeah, great question. I have recently learned that when it comes to like being tax savvy as a business, that a lot of businesses prefer actually to like give a cash sponsorship versus a discount on your vendor services. So that's something I have learned, like with our rental companies for our large events, like giving them an opportunity to, sponsor the event and have their name on it, and then cut us a check versus giving us a discount, which they wanted to do. It works better that way for them. So I think that's a really interesting approach as well too, is to try and get them in on that level. And I think too, like vendors for events particularly, the people that are attending your event or that hear about your event are other potential clients for them as well too. And so I think leaning into that a little bit and saying you can get in front of a room of X, Y, and Z. This is a great networking opportunity. I think that if you have a relationship there, even if it's just a vendor client relationship, and you have even just like a slight gut feeling that they could be interested in more, I think you can just ask questions, like you don't have to do this big ask right away, but just say like, we love working with you. And I love the idea of doing something bigger together. Could we chat about what that might look like?
Any other questions for Bethany? Please throw them into the chat or you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask real time.
Hey Bethany, how far ahead, say for an event support, do you approach after an event? Like say like, hey, mark your calendars for next year. Can we count on your support as a, sponsor for this event or partnering with us for this event next year as well to kind of get it on their radar, that forward thinking? Or is
Yeah.
there that too soon is too much?
Great question. I'm trying to think. So our big fundraiser, we only host every other year. So for us, like a follow-up in the event wouldn't make sense. But our event is held in August, and in the calendar year before November is usually when we start asking for those partnerships, that sponsorship. But I love the idea actually, like kind of wrapped into your impact report. You could even like put some language saying like we look forward to partnering with you again next year, like what you made happen, and then follow up whenever feels right for you. I honestly really don't think that it's ever too early, except for, like I said, if you're planning 2 years in advance, it might be. But if it's an annual event, trying to get ahead of them, or even better, like when you're having conversations about it, see if you can get them to commit to a 2, 3, 5 year sponsorship. And then you're making that ask once, and then everything else you're doing is all stewardship in the meantime. We have found that that has been really helpful and time saving if we can get some of these partners that we know we're going to get to commit to a multi-year pledge, essentially. That kind of helps take that ask off the table, and you're just engaging them in the meantime.
We probably have time for, I do like that multi-year ask too. I agree, Amy. I wrote that one down. It's like, ooh,
Good.
there's some folks I think that would be a really good fit with in my world. I think we have time for one more question, and I know you have them because this was our most requested training topic. So what else is on your mind with this?
You guys have any, my biggest thing is like we're really trying to reach those businesses like we talked about and find out, who aligns with our vision and that kind of thing. But I really want to work on contacting the businesses that have encourage volunteers, where do you find that information other than just good old research? Is there a key place to look or?
Let me see if I understand your question. So, like businesses in town that either encourage or require their employees to volunteer, or ones that are already volunteering with you?
That encourage, like to get
Yeah,
new
good
volunteers.
question. I'm not sure if there's like a single best place. I find the Chamber of Commerce, or like the that's excuse me, newsletter is really helpful because they'll have a lot of different places that do fundraising, or excuse me, volunteering. One thing I've also recently learned is that there are so many, or most financial institutions are actually required by law to give away a certain percentage of their money back into their community, and most of them have volunteer opportunities with that as well too. So I feel like some of those are a really good place to start. Um, I don't know if anybody else has like a great single spot to look for organizations that need volunteer opportunities. Please share. But that's all that comes to mind. I'm sorry I don't have more.
A good place to check would be, oh shoot, United Way. They do some kind of volunteer organizational day or something of the sort, and I'm spacing on the details because I missed the boat the last 2 years. But yeah, it's a great way. They would at least have the resource of like where to plug people in if they're reaching out for volunteer opportunities. So they might have a bit more of a comprehensive list.
Good flag. They do. Yeah, they do that like big annual day of volunteering in early spring.
Great. Well, Bethany, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and enthusiasm with us on this topic. This felt like a little burst of energy that I needed to transform some business partnerships. So thank you so much.
Yay. And thanks again for having
Virtual
me.
round of applause for Bethany. So grateful for you. A few reminders as we log off for today. We've said it like 10,000 times in this training, but Give Big Gallatin Valley is next week. I'm so grateful and excited to capture all the generosity across the county with you all. And then the other upcoming reminder is our very last nonprofit cafe of the 2025-26 season will be on May 15th on strategic planning with Kari Anderson of Insight Consulting. This is also open to board members as well. So if you are looking at your strategic plan and want some fresh eyes, would love to see you there. After that session, we will pause for summer and see you back at Nonprofit Cafe in August. And all that registration information is available on our website. Thank you so much for your time today. Reach out to One Valley if we can help support your organization in any way. We're cheering you on, we're in your corner, and excited to see what happens in 24 hours at the end of next week. Thanks all. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Chloe.